To start off this video today, let's talk about what Mannerism is. Mannerism is an artistic style that started in Italy at the end of the High Renaissance, which was about the 1520s, to the beginning of the Baroque style, which would be around the 50s. Let's analyze what Mannerism style is first through Giacomo del Portono's The Entombment of Christ. The Entombment of Christ would be considered an earliest Mannerist style painting. There's a lot of symbols taken out where, yes, we do know that this is Christ, but we have to look for it in a sense. It's a very spar image. There's nothing really in this image but figures. But we still see that high Renaissance factor of realistic people, and their faces are very realistic. We see these wrinkles, we see human-like expressions, but they're also in a very unnatural form, which is kind of going over to Mannerism, where they kind of stopped with naturalism because they had gone as far as it could possibly go in the High Renaissance. So now we're more interested in showing off our skills and our abilities and making it as elegant as possible. So there's constant movement around there. There's lots of different directions, and emotions are very strong and very high. Christ himself is being carried on the tippy toes of these very two front figures, which is a little bit strange because in actuality, no one would actually be able to carry him that way. There's this weightlessness also to this picture, which is very unlike Renaissance art and very much expressive of Mannerist art. There's once again that intense emotion, and they're very more symbols of emotion versus actually being, realistic. At the time, Florence was no longer a republic. There was a Protestant Reformation. Copernicus discovered that, we were not the center of the universe. And there's this new spirituality that we're seeing where artists were kind of looking for their own spirituality and their new spirituality. So they're all compressed into the foreground, and there's no sense of space or depth. And the light source, we don't know where it's coming from. Nothing's really in the center, and it's very asymmetrical, but it's about being stylish, about showing off your abilities, and you can see that in the hands and the way that the colors are so bright and out there. It became interesting to show off your skills in Mannerism, and Portono's Entombment of Christ really shows that. When looking at the burial of Count Orgaz by El Greco, you have to remember that El Greco had his own style that was very different from all other artists during his time. He used highly expressional art. It was very dramatized, but he adopted many of the elements of Mannerism and the Venetian Renaissance. So we see this light coming through the work, but we don't really know where the light is coming from. There's these brilliant colors that we can see in the friars with those beautiful illuminated golden coats. But there's this lack of depth. We somewhat understand that there's depth, but we don't really see it. But then there are the elongated figures where the man in the white robe has this elongated neck, and Count Orgaz himself is oddly proportional. There's this emphasis on the psalm, which is also expression of the Mannerism, where it's that really kind of artificial face, but it combines the spiritual with the historical. So Count Orgaz, in a sense, is Jesus Christ. So it reminds us of Jesus in the entombment, and Jesus is up above in heaven, and there's that contrast of the fluid moment above and the very rigid down. Count Orgaz gave a large donation of money to the church, and El Greco was commissioned to do it after his death, which was many, many years later. And so El Greco felt that he needed to honor certain people, and even his own son is there. We also see some influence of the Byzantine art, but there's this lack again of the ground and horizon. But That's what Mannerism was about. It was about your own style and about expressing what you did best in your work.